They were Disney's golden kids, singing, smiling, picture perfect. But when the spotlight shifted, they broke free. Some came out, some blurred every line, and some just lived so authentically, fans crowned them icons anyway. From polished childhood roles to unapologetic queer magic, these stars turned nostalgia into liberation. Stick around as we count down the 10 Disney legends who redefined what it means to shine. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Ross Lynch has always had a magnetic energy, the kind that makes you stop browsing, stop talking, stop doing anything just to watch. To many, he's forever been Austin, from Austin and Ally, the blonde Disney boy next door with a smile that radiates from a sitcom. But Ross hasn't been frozen in that Disney stereotype. He's grown up, broken down walls, and stepped into something much more unexpected. One of Generation Z's most beloved gay icons, even if he's never labeled himself. Part of what makes Ross so fascinating is the way his career has evolved. After Disney, he didn't disappear or pursue safe, shiny projects. He led the Driver era, a band with his brother, and released music that was full of raw energy, blurry lines, and a sexuality that Disney would never allow. On stage, Ross is anything but shy. He embraces a genderless style that blends rock star confidence with light, almost delicate movements. He'll wear a tight t-shirt, dance shirtless, or let his hair fall freely in his face, and fans, especially queer fans, will be captivated. It's not just hunger, it's recognition. Because here's the thing. Ross never had to wave a rainbow flag to win over LGBTQ+ audiences. His confidence in defying gender expectations, his willingness to experiment with beauty and sexuality in public has made him a queer-coded star, whether he meant to or not. Social media has made him a phenomenon. His TikTok concerts go viral almost instantly. Twitter threads filled with gay panic memes flood his timelines whenever he performs. Ross has become an ally who not only says he supports the community, but also shows it in the way he moves, dresses, and interacts with fans. There's also a layer of authenticity that sets him apart. He's never tried to box himself into the perfect, trendy celebrity. Instead, he just lives in a way that feels free, expansive, and authentic. His post-Disney roles, like Harvey in Netflix's chilling adventures of Sabrina, have helped him shed his clean image, but it's his live performances that have cemented his status as an icon. He sweats, he flirts with the camera, he lets the moment take over, and queer audiences see in him the freedom they crave, permission to exist without shame. Ross Lynch represents a different kind of queer icon than Joshua Bassett. He's not soft or cynical, he's bold, passionate, and energetic. He's proof that even a former Disney Channel star, once pigeonholed into the adult-oriented box, can become a captivating, unabashedly gender-bending artist, embraced by LGBTQ+ fans. That journey, from Austin Moon to viral TikTok thirst traps, speaks volumes about how far Disney kids and the culture around them have come. What about you? Do you see Ross Lynch as just another former Disney actor turned rock star? Or do you think he's become something bigger? An unexpected icon, breaking the mold and giving queer Gen Z fans a reason to scream even louder? Share your thoughts in the comments below. He never needed a label to make people sit up and pay attention. Joshua Bassett showed up on Disney Plus looking like just another pretty boy. Fresh smile, shaggy hair, guitar in hand, and then quietly became something way bigger than anyone expected. He turned into a symbol of freedom, of softness, of what queerness can look like when it doesn't need a name. Most of us first saw him as Ricky in High School Musical, the series. Ricky was the classic boy next door, sweet and a little messy, but with just enough charm to make you root for him. The truth is, though, people weren't just falling for Ricky. They were falling for Joshua. Then came 2021, and everything changed with one throwaway comment. In the middle of an interview, while talking about Harry Styles, Joshua laughed and said, "He's hot, you know? This is also my coming out video, I guess." He smiled, shrugged, moved on. But the internet didn't. That one line blew up everywhere. Was he joking? Was he serious? Did it matter? Suddenly, TikTok edits, Twitter threads, and think pieces were everywhere. The uncertainty itself felt groundbreaking. A few days later, he put the speculation to rest, not with a big magazine cover or a carefully managed campaign, but with a simple, heartfelt Instagram post. Love who you love, shamelessly. It's okay to still be figuring out who you are. No labels, no categories, just truth. That kind of honesty hit like a lightning bolt. For Gen Z, it was exactly what we'd been waiting for. A star who wasn't trying to give us all the answers. Someone who showed that being unsure, being fluid, being soft, that wasn't weakness. That was real. From then on, everything about Joshua seemed to lean into that energy. The pearls, the crop tops, the delicate rings, they weren't costumes or shock value. They were just him, blending masculinity and femininity in a way that felt natural. And when you hear his music, you feel that same honesty. Songs like Feel Something and Lifeline are emotional, raw, and vulnerable. They don't just tell stories of heartbreak and confusion, they carry hope too. What makes Joshua so magnetic is that he's never rushed to put himself in a box. And that choice has opened up space for a whole generation of fans. For the kids who feel stuck in between, too straight for one thing, too gay for another, or just tired of trying to explain themselves, Joshua is proof that you don't need a label to be valid. In a world obsessed with clarity, he gave us something even better: possibility. He didn't raise a rainbow flag for the cameras. He didn't do a press tour about his identity. He just lived. Soft, authentic, unbothered. And in the process, he redefined what a Disney star could mean to Gen Z. So if you think Joshua Bassett is the most relatable, unlabeled icon of his generation, drop a 2 in the comments. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is simply be yourself, without apology and without definition. Milo Manheim has become, almost by accident, one of Gen Z's most unexpected queer-coded heartthrobs. From the very beginning, he had that it factor you can't fake. Tall, charismatic, with the kind of boy band energy that pulls people in, and just enough awkwardness to make him approachable. Sure, he had the Disney charm working for him, but what set Milo apart was something deeper. It was the way he leaned into ambiguity, blurred the lines, and did it all with an easy grin that said he wasn't afraid to play with expectations. On screen, his role as Zed in Zombies was bold, emotional, even a little dramatic. A zombie jock who wasn't scared to sing about his feelings. But it's what Milo did off-screen that truly grabbed attention. He showed up at red carpets in crop tops, went full glam on Halloween, filmed flirty TikToks with his guy friends. He radiated a kind of queer-coded energy without ever saying a single word about labels. And Gen Z noticed instantly. Fan edits flooded TikTok with captions like, "Why does he give me gay panic?" Or, "No one's talking about this, but..." His comment sections turned into a stream of reactions, people pointing out that he felt so masculine but somehow not straight at the same time. What people found in Milo was a safe fantasy, someone who embraced queerness without having to explain it. Even in interviews, he leaned into that openness. He talked about self-expression, about not being afraid to wear what he wanted, about acting how he felt. He never distanced himself from the LGBTQ+ community that had embraced him. In fact, he interacted with queer creators and fans, making it clear that their love was mutual. Milo never issued a formal coming out, but he didn't need to. His softness, his confidence, his playful fluidity made people feel seen in a way that mattered. And then there's the fun. Milo doesn't take himself too seriously. One day he'll post a thirst trap TikTok, the next he's dressing up as a fairy just for the laughs. He's goofy, he's hot, and he's unpredictable. That mix is what keeps fans hooked. You never know if he'll make you laugh, make you blush, or make you think, but he always makes you feel something. Milo Manheim proves that sometimes the loudest statement is made without words. By being unapologetically himself, he's queering Disney's legacy in ways no one saw coming. For young people figuring out who they are, his existence sends a powerful message. You don't need a label to live authentically, and you don't need to fit into a box to be loved. The lesson here? Authenticity isn't about clarity, it's about freedom. And in Milo, fans see the possibility of living fully, joyfully, without boundaries. So now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching this video from? And how does Milo's story hit home for you? Tell us in the comments, we'd love to know. Thomas Doherty has a face you won't forget. A sharp jawline, piercing eyes, and a beauty so perfect it's hard to believe. He first came to attention in Disney's Descendants franchise, playing Harry Hook, a swaggering pirate with smudged eyeliner who looked like he'd stepped straight out of fan fiction. At the time, he was just a charismatic Disney star with a distinctive accent and high cheekbones. But over time, Thomas began to shape himself into something much more compelling, a culture disruptor who refused to be constrained by labels. After Descendants, many expected him to follow the standard Disney path. Safe roles, pop-oriented projects, maybe even a solo music career. Instead, he's been taking on boundary-pushing roles, most notably as Max Wolf in HBO's Gossip Girl reboot. Max isn't just flirty or rebellious, he's openly pansexual, openly wild, and incredibly complex. Through that character, Thomas gave Gen Z something they hadn't seen enough of: quirky, unapologetic, and stylish. He wasn't a sidekick or a running gag, he was the main event, living fully in the spotlight. But what really caught people's attention wasn't just his on-screen characters, it was Thomas himself. In interviews, he's been outspoken about his distrust of labels, about the importance of flexibility and freedom. He's talked about how sexiness, expression, and identity don't have to be constrained, that people should be allowed to change and grow without being forced into a certain mold. That sentiment resonated with Gen Z audiences who were tired of being told to define themselves too quickly or too clearly. Fashion is another language for Thomas. He'll show up to events with painted nails, bold prints, or outfits that blend masculine and feminine. It never feels like a costume. It feels like an extension of his point of view, that gender is a playground, not a prison. Whether he's wearing a sharp suit or something softer and more experimental, the confidence he exudes makes his point all the more powerful. For queer fans, Thomas represents possibility. He's proof that you can grow up within the Disney system, step into bigger roles, and still break free from the rigid boxes that Hollywood tries to impose. His charisma is undeniable, but what elevates him to iconic status is the way he embraces freedom. He reminds people that being queer doesn't have to come with a set of rules. It can be bold, chaotic, captivating, and ever-evolving. What we can truly learn from Thomas's journey is that individuality has no boundaries. He's living proof that you don't have to fit into someone else's definition to shine. You can combine boldness with vulnerability, tradition with rebellion, and still carve out a space that's entirely your own. That kind of fearless self-expression allows fans to explore themselves without apology. If you found Thomas's story inspiring and want to continue celebrating more Disney stars who break the mold, please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. Your support helps us bring stories like this to life, and trust me, we'll have more. Garrett Clayton to Trailblazer. When you picture the classic Disney heartthrob, Garrett seemed like he was built for the role. That charming smile, abs of steel, a perfect jawline, and that all-American boy-next-door energy, he checked every single box. In Teen Beach Movie, he played Tanner, the sweet, surf-loving, slightly clueless dreamboat who danced his way into millions of hearts. But what fans didn't know at the time was that behind all the bright colors, catchy songs, and carefully polished interviews was a very different story. One that Garrett didn't yet feel safe enough to tell. At the height of his Disney fame, Garrett was living in fear. He was gay, but the world couldn't know. Agents warned him that coming out would ruin his career. Casting directors told him flat out he'd never play a leading man if people knew the truth. Hollywood was still clinging to an old, toxic belief that queerness couldn't sell a fairy tale. So Garrett smiled, he played along, he flirted with female co-stars in interviews, dodged questions, and built a polished image. But inside, he was slowly breaking. It took years, long after his Disney chapter had closed, long after the bright studio lights had dimmed, for Garrett to finally speak his truth. In a simple but powerful Instagram post, he came out as gay and introduced the world to his longtime partner, Blake Knight. The post was quiet, raw, and honest, but for Garrett, it was freedom. For fans who had adored him since Teen Beach Movie, it was nothing short of a revelation. And Garrett didn't stop there. Once the door was open, he refused to let it close again. He spoke openly about the trauma of hiding for so long, the pressure, the manipulation, the toll it took on his mental health. He revealed how being forced to stay closeted just to land roles had left scars that ran deep. And in doing so, he gave a voice to an entire generation of LGBTQ+ actors who had been told to dim their light in order to fit Hollywood's mold. Since coming out, Garrett has redefined what it means to be a leading man. He's taken on bold roles in queer films like King Cobra, used his platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ mental health, and spoken up about the need for safe spaces in the entertainment industry. And the glow-up? It's undeniable. Post-Disney, Garrett is bolder, sexier, and more unapologetically himself than ever. Think sheer shirts, slicked back hair, photo shoots that scream confidence. He's not trying to fit in anymore. He's setting his own standard. For many fans, Garrett Clayton will always be their Disney crush. But today, he's something even more important. He's proof that you can grow up in a world built on fantasy, break free from its expectations, and step into a reality that's honest, raw, and powerful. Garrett shows us that being real is in fact the hottest thing a prince can be. If you believe in celebrating stars who use their truth to light the way for others, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories like Garrett's alive and gives us the chance to share more journeys that inspire. Karan Brar's story is one that doesn't get told enough, but it's exactly the kind of journey that makes this list so powerful. Many fans first knew him as Ravi Ross, the quirky, lovable brainiac on Disney Channel's Jessie, and later Bunked. With his quick wit and awkward charm, Karan became a household name for an entire generation of kids. On screen, he always delivered laughs. Off screen, though, Karan was carrying a truth that he didn't share with the world until much later. For years, he quietly navigated Hollywood as a young actor of Indian descent, which already came with its own unique pressures. Disney had never had many South Asian leads, and Karan quickly realized he was representing more than just himself. He was representing visibility. But behind that bright image, he was also figuring out his own identity. Growing up in the spotlight is hard enough. Growing up while questioning your sexuality, surrounded by expectations, is a whole different challenge. In 2023, long after his Disney Channel days were behind him, Karan made a decision that changed everything. In an interview and through his own social posts, he came out publicly as bisexual. And the way he did it was pure Karan, honest, understated, and deeply relatable. There wasn't a big PR rollout or a flashy magazine cover, just a young man telling his truth in his own words. And for fans who had grown up watching him on Disney, especially South Asian kids who had never seen themselves in stories like his, it was a moment of recognition they'd been waiting for. Karan has spoken candidly about how important it is to live authentically, but also about how scary it was to break that silence. For years, he'd been told what Hollywood often whispers, that being open about your sexuality might limit your opportunities, might make casting directors hesitate. But when he finally came out, the response was overwhelmingly supportive. Fans flooded his mentions with love, gratitude, and admiration for choosing to be real. Since then, Karan has embraced his role not just as an actor, but as an advocate. He's opened up about mental health, about what it means to be a queer person of color in Hollywood, and about how the industry needs to make space for more diverse stories. He's also reminded young fans that there's no right timeline for coming out. You do it when you're ready, in your own way. That message has resonated deeply with Gen Z, who often feel pressured to define themselves too quickly. Karan Brar's journey matters because it expands the definition of what a Disney star can be. He's not just the funny kid from Jessie anymore. He's a young man who turned fear into freedom, who showed that being open about your truth doesn't shrink your possibilities, it expands them. For South Asian queer kids, his story is especially groundbreaking, a reminder that they deserve to see themselves in the spotlight too. Your background, your culture, your identity, none of it has to hold you back from living fully. If anything, those parts of you make your story richer, more powerful, more inspiring. Joshua Rush made Disney history in a way that no one could ignore. For decades, Disney avoided direct LGBTQ+ storylines, always hinting, always implying, but never saying it. Then Andy Mack came along. At just 15 years old, Joshua, playing Cyrus Goodman, looked his best friend in the eyes and uttered 3 simple words, "I am gay." No metaphors, no winks, no subtle hints, just clarity, courage, and heart. That a Disney Channel show could break such ground was remarkable. And for Joshua, a straight teenage actor at the time, delivering that line so authentically and carefully changed everything. But the story doesn't stop there. 2 years later, in 2019, Joshua came out, naturally, boldly, and beautifully as bisexual. Overnight, he became the first Disney actor to play an openly gay character on screen, and the first to come out to the LGBT+ community in real life. The internet exploded with joy, love, and gratitude. For thousands of gay teens, Joshua was no longer just an actor they admired. He was living proof that you can still be young, still explore, and still have the courage to be yourself in the world. What makes Joshua even more special is how he has used his platform since then. He has not only represented the community, he has become an advocate. He has spoken at political events, encouraged young people to register and vote, and advocated for gay inclusion in entertainment and government. At an age when most kids are worried about grades and exams, Joshua has helped redefine what a Disney kid can be. He's also been open about mental health, gender identity, and the unique pressures of growing up queer. He balances that seriousness with humor, often poking fun at the chaos and beauty of queer culture online. His fashion sense reflects that confidence. He's ditched simple graphic tees for crop tops, nail polish, and a fluid, expressive style that fits his message. Be yourself, don't be afraid. On social media, he doesn't just post, he connects. He responds directly to his fans, especially young queer people still struggling to find themselves, reminding them that they're not alone. That connection goes beyond celebrity. It's personal, it's genuine, and it's part of why many see him as more than just an actor. Joshua Rush didn't just have a breakout role, he became a part of Disney history. His journey proves that authenticity has no age limit, and representation doesn't have to wait. Sometimes, it just takes one person to be brave enough to speak their truth. Where in the world are you watching video from? And if Joshua is your favorite Disney star on this list, be sure to leave a like and a share to support the channel, because voices like his deserve to be heard everywhere. Joe Serafini is the kind of star who changes the narrative just by existing. He plays Seb in High School Musical, the series, one of the very first openly gay teen characters in a Disney franchise. From the moment he stepped onto the screen in glittering vests, belting out show tunes with unapologetic flair, Seb was more than just a side character. He was a symbol, and Joe in turn became a star. What makes Joe's journey so powerful is how quietly revolutionary it is. He didn't come out with some big viral headline. He didn't need to. His truth was already written into every performance, every glance, every handhold. When Seb reached out and held Carlos's hand on screen, Disney introduced its very first openly gay teen couple. It wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't played for laughs. It was soft, it was honest, and it was a milestone. For a company that had long been criticized for avoiding LGBTQ+ representation, that moment was groundbreaking. For young queer kids watching at home, it was everything. And the best part? It wasn't just acting. Joe is openly gay in real life too. In a twist that feels straight out of a movie, his on-screen love interest Carlos, played by Frankie Rodriguez, also happens to be his real-life partner. That chemistry fans saw, 100% authentic. Their relationship has become something of a queer fairy tale for Disney fans. Sweet, real, refreshingly drama-free. People didn't just love Seb and Carlos, they felt them. For so many queer kids, it was the first time they saw themselves in a Disney story without stereotypes, without jokes at their expense, without tragedy. Just love, music, and glitter. Off-screen, Joe keeps that same energy. He's warm and approachable on social media. He talks openly about self-love, mental health, and what it means to grow up queer in a world that still has a long way to go. He doesn't chase shock value or try to manufacture headlines. His existence, his softness, and his truth are enough. On red carpets, he shows up in tailored suits, sometimes with painted nails, always smiling. He embraces his queerness with pride, but never forgets to be tender. That balance is rare, and it's why fans trust him. Joe's story isn't about drama, it's about joy, and that in itself is revolutionary. Joe Serafini isn't just the gay Disney prince we never thought we'd get. He's the role model Gen Z needed. Proof that being fully yourself, soft, proud, authentic, is more than enough to create real magic. And if Joe Serafini is your favorite Disney star on this list, don't hold back. Leave a like, hit share, and help us spread more stories that shine with pride. Larry Saperstein may not be the most recognizable name on this list, but sometimes it's the quiet stories that resonate the most. Most fans know him as Big Red in High School Musical, the series, the lovable best friend, the goofy sidekick, who somehow stole every scene with his awkward charm. He wasn't a star quarterback or a flashy singer, but he was relatable. Big Red was the kid who tried his best, stumbled along the way, and had people rooting for him. And in many ways, Larry himself embodied that same energy in real life. For years, Larry simply enjoyed life, making people laugh and being part of the High School Musical legacy. Then, during Pride Month 2021, he accidentally posted something on TikTok that forever changed the way fans saw him. In a short, playful video, he came out as bisexual. No dramatic announcement, no elaborate press release, just Larry. It was simple, funny, and incredibly real. And that's exactly why the film resonated. The reaction was immediate. Fans flooded his comments with love and support, and many young gay viewers said that seeing someone like Big Red, awkward, funny, not your typical leading man, embrace his identity made them feel seen in a whole new way. Because not everyone identifies with the perfect heartthrob or the bold rebel. Sometimes the avatar looks like a guy trying to figure things out, reminding you that queerness exists in all forms, even the most unexpected ones. What makes Larry's story so powerful is how he's explored it since then. He's talked about the importance of self-expression and self-acceptance, while also being honest about how scary it can be to share that part of himself with the world. He continues to act, sing, and perform. But he's also become a small but significant voice in conversations about visibility. Larry proves that you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to make an impact. You just have to be real. On social media, he connects with fans in a funny, relatable way that has made Big Red one of the most beloved characters. And every so often, he reminds people that being bisexual isn't about fitting into a mold or conforming to a stereotype. It's about being true to yourself, even if that truth may look different for everyone. Larry Saperstein's journey is important because it shows us another side of being a gay Disney alum. Icons don't always come from sensational headlines or high-profile roles. Sometimes they come from the companions who make us laugh, then make us pause, and ultimately make us feel a little less alone. So what do you think? Does Larry's story touch your heart like so many other fans? If he's one of your favorite characters on this list, hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and let's celebrate the Disney stars who remind us that being ourselves, be it awkward, funny, or anything in between, is more than enough. When Frankie A. Rodriguez first joined the Disney universe, he wasn't the headline act, but the legacy he's building speaks volumes. Fans met him as Carlos in High School Musical, the series, and right away he brought something Disney had been missing for far too long. An openly gay teen character who wasn't a side joke, a stereotype, or a fleeting subplot. Carlos was loud, proud, and unapologetically himself. Glitter, sass, and heart all rolled into one. For a franchise built on romance, music, and big emotions, Carlos gave us something new, a love story that finally reflected queer kids watching at home. And then came the twist that made it even more special. On screen, Carlos fell for Seb, played by Joe Serafini. Their romance wasn't background noise, it was front and center, complete with songs, dances, and the kind of sweet moments that Disney had always reserved for straight couples. Fans were moved not just because it was groundbreaking, but because it was authentic. That spark between Carlos and Seb, it wasn't manufactured. Off-screen, Frankie and Joe were partners in real life too. That authenticity turned their storyline into a queer fairy tale fans could truly believe in. Frankie's presence on the show was a milestone for Disney, but his influence goes beyond the screen. He's open about his identity, proud of who he is, and constantly reminding fans that being yourself is not just enough, it's powerful. He's used his platform to talk about representation, about how much it would have meant to see characters like Carlos when he was younger, and about the importance of creating space for queer joy in media. There's also something disarmingly genuine about Frankie. He doesn't try to be the polished, perfect star. He shows up with warmth, humor, and a kind of relatability that makes fans feel like they actually know him. Whether he's posting on social media, interacting with fans, or just living his life with pride, he radiates a message that hits home. You don't need to change to fit the story. You can change the story by showing up as yourself. Frankie A. Rodriguez isn't just a Disney actor. He's part of a larger shift in what it means to be a Disney star in this generation. He's proof that queer love stories belong in the spotlight, and that sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is show love with honesty, joy, and a little bit of glitter. Now it's your turn. Out of all 10 stars we've talked about, who's the one that inspires you the most? And who's your personal favorite? Tell us in the comments, and if this video made you smile, don't forget to drop a like and share it to keep these stories shining. They didn't need to scream to be heard. By being soft, bold, graceful, and free, these Disney stars prove that queerness is not just valid, it's magic. The real Disney story isn't castles or choreography, it's the freedom to write your own happy ending. So, which star makes you feel seen? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of pride and possibility.